What's going on YouTube? Hannah back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we'll be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications. As something new to bring up, you guys can probably notice I'm back in my studio up at college, so the video quality should be so much better. Thank you guys for bearing with. Otherwise, if you guys wanted to check out that accident that I got in on the train, there's a link in the description that'll bring you to my personal channel, and it's obviously the first video that I posted, or the most recent one, so you can definitely check that out. Let me know what you think about that. Otherwise, as you guys saw in the title, we're going to be talking about the potential of a new Bitcoin or Litecoin rally happening fairly soon within the market. We're going to be looking at trends and things of that nature. Otherwise, let's jump into today's episode. So we're currently on the coin market cap right now. And as you guys can see, we have a market cap of 211 billion. We have a 24-hour volume of 11.9 and a Bitcoin dominance of 53.9. So one thing to note is we are slowly decreasing on our Bitcoin dominance, which means that money is leaving Bitcoin and moving into altcoins, or more money is moving into altcoins than Bitcoin. So we're going to look at that in a second. Another thing to note is 11.9 volume is slightly higher than when we first started. We were at around 9 billion. Now we're at 11. And we did reach a high of like 20 billion in 24-hour volume when we saw that decrease in the price. And we saw that big dump in the market, that whale dump or whatever it was exactly. Some people say it was related with Tether. Moving on, though, we have that 211 market cap. So we are slightly higher than where we started. So when we did see that drop, we did fall to around 198, $200 billion. So we're kind of increasing a fairly slow rate. We did see a nice pop a few days ago where the market cap went to like 224 billion fairly quickly within like a 4-hour time period, which was absolutely phenomenal. I was not expecting to see that. Just to scroll down, though, as you guys can see, the top 10 coins, it seems to be a fair mix in the market. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, so about 5 out of 5 are up and 5 out of 5 are down, and not by much. Really not seeing much movement at all, which, you know, as we talked about in the past, when we see stability, when we see sideways trading, it usually is leading up to some sort of parabolic movement in the upside or the downside. Bitcoin is back at above 6,500, which is always good. Obviously, we want to see it, you know, into the $8,500 level. Will we reach that by the end of the year? We will find out shortly. Ethereum at 208, so back above $200 like we saw. And we have Litecoin at 53.88, so only down 1.5, taking the biggest hit out of the top 10. And XRP seems to be up about 0.46%. No, sorry, it's at 0.46, up 4.3%. I just really quick want to, no, it's not loading up. Oh, it is. Let's just load up XRP. We may add that in later on. We'll check back with that as we go on to Litecoin and Bitcoin. So one thing to note with Litecoin to US dollar is I think XRP loaded up. All right, cool. Yeah, we're going to look at XRP2 today then, because I do think it is a pretty interesting market that is, or a pretty cool price action that's happening within XRP. So as for Litecoin, as you guys see, we're seeing a lot of sideways trading right now, and there was a very weird spike that we saw that pretty much brought us right back up to our support where we basically started in the past before the massive drop. Now you guys can see we did have that pullback. You can see we're holding support fairly well at around $50. You can see we're kind of seeing some sort of resistance up at like the 53.49 level, and that seems to be the massive resistance level within this coin. We saw a small upwards ascending triangle, which we kind of just traded out of. It was kind of forming with Bitcoin and Ethereum. We can look at that in a second. And then you guys saw that we kind of fell back down to, I guess, a very small support within the 4-hour. Now, as I say, the closer in we zoom, the more these lines are less stable, but as we zoom out, we look at daily lines, that's where we see a lot more stability. So we did see this massive injection in the market. We saw a huge spike in volume. A lot of you guys were commenting on my page, oh my god, Litecoin is at like $59 or $57, whatever it was. And then, which oddly enough, we retrace right back down, and I'll explain why when we look at Bitcoin. And you can now see we're literally just trading sideways back again, back at this resistance right here. So 53.49 seems to be the resistance that we're having the most trouble with. Now, moving on, though, to Bitcoin. As you guys know, Bitcoin is the leader. We had a very interesting movement, and that's what I want to get into. So obviously, as you guys can see, we're on the daily, so these lines are a lot more strong like we were referring to in Litecoin. So one thing to note is we did find a very, very, very stable support. So that's another very positive thing. As you guys can see, in the past, we pretty much found a bottom. So there is a smaller bottom right here. Clearly, we have not been down there in quite some time, but where I'm referring to, where the most support is hopefully you guys are aware, this yellow support right here. So you can see all the sideways trading, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 points of contact. So that really does justify the fact that this is a very, very, very strong support level. Now, one thing to note is when we did decide to break out, which is very easy to explain, is we managed to shoot up, broke out of our resistance, our like 10-month resistance now. We shot all the way up to around $6,700, basically the resistance, this high-low MMA. We found a lot of resistance, could not really, close above here and close back in, which I kind of assumed and kind of figured looking at that movement at such a massive breakout. We then kind of retraced right back below the high-low, that resistance, which is it's kind of obvious in my opinion. Like it's so clear cut and so reasonable, and it can be explained so easily when we see, we exploded out, we retested resistance here. That's why Litecoin couldn't hold. We retraced back down, and we're currently right below our resistance right here. And you guys can see we're having a lot of issues right now. You can see that we're facing a lot of resistance here. We managed to shoot up, but the pressure pushed us right back down. You can see the support right here. We're kind of battling right now with the bulls and the bears. Whether or not which one wins, we're going to find out, but it's very possible in the fact that we saw this massive run prior, and the fact that right now we're trading sideways, it is very, very possible that we could branch out and move back up to our most recent injection of volume into the market and bring us back up above $6,800. It is very, very, very possible. You can also see that resistance in the past was literally right here, and you can just pretty much imagine what would happen if we saw that volume injection when Bitcoin gradually breaks out of that descending triangle on its own, and then we see the volume move us up much higher. It'll be a very interesting form right there. But when we do see, and we do plan on seeing Bitcoin break out right here, we should see that volume leak into or kind of trickle down into the altcoins, and Litecoin inevitably would be affected. As you guys can see, if we just ignore this massive wick right here, for the most part Litecoin is just trading sideways, waiting for the next movement within the market. So I do think a rally is coming fairly quick within well, that's very interesting too. Within the crypto, literally just dragging this out, you can see what I'm noticing. I'm just going to draw this all the way out and see how that, affects the rest of Ethereum. But I noticed some sort of ascending triangle right now. Now, obviously, we can't kind of make out for here. You guys can see we had a resistance at around $198, $200. We broke bearish from there and just quickly retraced right back up. You guys can see that massive injection when we saw Bitcoin and Litecoin move. Quickly retrace right back down, obviously going back to where Bitcoin's level was. So Bitcoin basically fell all the way back down to its most highest point where there's the least amount of pressure, or the most amount of pressure. This is almost impossible to close above, it seems like. So we closed right over here, and you can see that ultimately led Ethereum's price to close right over there. And now you guys can see the fact that we actually managed to break bullish from the ascending triangle. It seems like it is now using it and continuing to use it as a support as it moves up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of positive movement in that correction back up, maybe retesting our high-low MMA at around 210 to 11. And continuing to climb on here. It is very possible it could break down, because then again it is an ascending triangle, but it is very possible for it to trade up and walk up. That is very, very interesting. One thing to note with XRP, which seems to be very interesting, we kept heading back down. I am looking at this at the 4 hour, so keep that in mind. We are nearing being overbought, but you can see that after we fell and broke bearish, we then quickly retraced back up, and we're currently fighting to regain support right now of our high-low MMA. So there's a lot of resistance right now, as you guys can see, a lot of downwards pressure, but it's very possible if this decides to continue, you can see the price is gradually rising, we could break bullish from that and start using our red band and green band as a support instead of that resistance. That's truly what we're looking for. Otherwise, that's going to sum up the episode for today, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. Peace.